This is episode 7 of the History Below the Pines Storytellers Collection, Prohibition in Spearfish. Deep in the Black Hills, the pines have a way of keeping secrets. If you listen close enough, you can still hear the echoes of a time when the law ended where the gravel began. We're in Spearfish today, a town known for its beauty, but one that sat right on the edge of the last of the Wild West. In the 1920s, while the rest of the country was dry, the Black Hills were anything but. Down in the basement of Deadwood's Fairmont Hotel, they were hiding casks of whiskey in old hiding spots. Out in the gulches, moonshiners were marking their stashes with white rags on fence posts. In the backs of banks, they were hiding whiskey in areas that they would have kept money. It was the winks and the nods. And that's where the local sheriff knew exactly where to look and which door led to the backroom gin. Today, that spirit is being resurrected. Minus the Tommy guns, of course. I'm sitting down with Tobias, the man behind the Tucked Tie, a modern-day speakeasy right here in Spearfish. We're talking about the art of the pour, the weight of the history, and what it's like to keep a secret in the 21st century, per se. Tobias, welcome to the show, and we are so happy to be here at the Tucked Tie today. This is such a cool place. Thank you for having us. All right, Toby, thank you for coming on to the podcast. Tell us who you are and where we're at.
Well, my name's Tobias Steeves. We are in my bar, the Tucked Tie, which is below known as Kitchen in Spearfish, South Dakota.
What made you want to open up this speakeasy?
The goal for the speakeasy, the goal for the bar has been kind of a dream of mine since I started bartending when I was probably about 9 years ago. I wanted to build a bar, and I wanted to own a cocktail bar, and that was kind of the goal. And took 9 years, but here we are. I was finally able to get it open. So the story is that's really it. I wanted to own a bar one day, and I finally was able to do it.
I love it. I like that story. I feel like the term speakeasy is elusive in its own term. And I think it's very unique that we're in the basement of an old building because that's where speakeasies sat.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the brick and mortar basements hiding out from all the police back in the day. I was reading this morning, it sounds like May 1st, 1890 is when they first tried to get Prohibition rolling in South Dakota.
Mm.
But it was denied, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
only to come back later in the 1900s
Mm-hmm.
and really shut things down. Did a little bit of research, and across the street from here is the Opera House.
Mm-hmm.
That was where one of the first speakeasies in Spearfish was at.
Really? Okay, I did not know that.
Which
Yeah.
makes sense, right? Because people would drink and then
And then hide out, and usually the
Go to
actors
play.
had all the good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
They could bring it in if they were coming to town. They could
Exactly.
bring their stuff with them. That's really interesting. I didn't know that.
sitting
a lot of
on
sense.
I-90 in Spearfish, I mean, of course, it wasn't I-90 back then, but it was your direct route to Denver. So
Mm-hmm.
I suppose, if you're passing through from eastern South Dakota into western, going to Colorado,
Mm-hmm.
you could make a stop here.
Mm-hmm.
pick
And
up
we
your
were a lot
booze
closer
or-
to Canada, and Canada was bringing a lot of product through too. So
Exactly.
all of our ryes that we had at the time were all coming from Canada. So it was all traveling down that route.
Yeah, I think the fashion, though, in speakeasies, you see these old photos of these bartenders,
Mm.
and the fashion was so elegant.
Mm-hmm. All the white coat, the white gloves, all of that. Bartending back then was an actual, job. No different than any other at the time. Nobody thought bartending was any less or more than it was just a job that you did. And most of the bartenders at the time were also usually owners in their bar, right? A lot of the bartenders or barkeeps were the owners, and bars really started in hotels. And you'd have hotels with bars attached to them, and the owner would be like the key man, get people their room keys, as well as take care of their guests at the bar. So traditionally, the bar was always like where you got your keys, where you checked in, and where you got a drink, and it was the same person taking care of all of them. And so the bartending trade back then was kind of just something you did. It was really cool, and the outfits kind of fit with it. Of course, there was a lot more elegance, period. Even
Yeah.
then.
I mean, today's drinking versus drinking back then.
Yeah.
That's a conversation for another episode.
Mm.
But yeah, I think it's super neat sitting down here and looking around and looking at all the old bricks. There's so much history in this room. I know that there was a speakeasy across the hall here from you many, many years ago. And then it moved across the street. So it's always kind of been a theme in this part of town.
Yeah, and this building's definitely seen its fair share. I mean, the Night Cellar was here for a long time, and I know that was a really beloved spot here in Spearfish, and a lot of people come in and are like, oh my gosh, there used to be this like awesome bar. It was like the Night Cellar. And they're like, yeah, and they're so like they have such good memories of it, and I'm kind of hoping to tap into that same feeling, that same memories of that people have of that space. And yeah, this building has a lot of history. I mean, we try to preserve a lot of it in the building itself, especially in this bar. The light fixtures hanging above the bar are all the original light fixtures from the building when it was electrified, and sometime in the early 19 something, whenever electricity finally made its way into Spearfish, and when this building got its electrical currents and electrical wiring, these were the lights that were first rigged up to it. And at the time they were external lights, but we've moved them in and kind of repurposed them and put them behind the bar. So now you can, if you come in here, you see a little bit of history. They're 100-year-old light fixtures. And then along the beams down here, you also see a ton of markings. And this used to be an old carriage space where they used to build carriages, basically, and then roll them up onto the street through this like special rigging system that they had. And so, but along the beams, there's a ton of markings back from the 1890s to I think 20s, and you can still see them on here. And there's a lot of history just tied to the wood of this this little bar and the light fixtures.
Yeah, that's super unique. I didn't know about the Stagecoach building.
Yeah. When I came in here, I was looking at it, I was asking the landlord, like, hey, what is these markings? Because it has like axle point and it has all these like tire markings and other stuff in the beam. And I was like, what's this mean? And he goes, oh yeah, they built stagecoaches. I was like, no kidding. And he's like, yeah, they had a special rail system, and I think he even has a picture somewhere of what it looked like. And they used to build them down here. And then at some point, when that ended, and I'm sure it was around the time cars kind of became available, they kind of filled in the basement, and the basement disappeared for, probably 50 years, and it was just covered in dirt. And then when the current landlord, when Mark came in here, he dug it out pretty much by hand. And he's had it for 30 years. So 30 years ago, he dug out the basement by hand and found all of these things that had kind of been forgotten. And he's trying to keep them alive. And I love history. And when he told me these things, I was like, I want that to make that a part of our project down here. I want to keep that history of this and the history of, basement, cellar, cocktail bars, candlelit, speakeasy style.
Yeah, that's super cool. And like it's like a time capsule.
Mm-hmm.
That's really neat. I love sitting in places, imagining what it was like 100 plus years ago.
Oh, right.
I
know.
Like,
I wish.
Who was working here? What was their story? Where were they from? Why are they in Spearfish? Of course, we're never going to know any of these answers. But I think as a historian like myself, and somebody who's interested in history like you, we often puzzle ourselves with these questions because it's fun to think about. It's fun to think about who lived in Spearfish. You look at the old postcards of Main Street and all the old automobiles dotting the landscape and all the old hotels and just a whole different lifestyle back in the day.
Man, I wish we could go back sometimes and just see it, because there was something elegant about that. I even think when I look at, like, there was nothing here, and you think about, like, I look at one of the hotels right on the water, like the Spearfish Creek Inn, and it's right on the water. And I thought, at one point, this was on its own, and there was just nature all around this little inn, and you could, like, wake up, go outside, and, like, just drop a line in the water right there. And there was no traffic, there was no noise, there was no concrete. It was just probably a dirt lot, and it was the river, and then it was nothing around you. Like, how cool would that have been? Like, this would have been, like, such a stunning place to see before we got built up.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and then you think about the people that would have enjoyed it. You're like, man, that's kind of cool. And then I'm like, well, I wonder what people are going to say 100 years from now about where we're at and about the places that we have. Like, man, it was so cool what they had, like we've lost that, or we got something different now. But, I wish I could have seen what it was like before, the skyscraper went in. And you're like, oh my gosh, we're sitting here thinking the skyscraper's never going to happen. But, 100 years from now, who knows?
It's probably going to be futuristic. There's going to be like silent discos, and this is going to be like a 3D room, and
I mean, I would if we went back into like the Jetsons and yeah, 100%. I'm here for it. Let's bring back the 70s.
we've came full circle on the podcast. We started talking about Flintstones, then we talked about mining and speakeasies. Now we're talking about Jetsons. I mean, tune in next week, I guess, for Back to the Future, right?
That's how we're gonna make it happen.
So, bartending, it's an art.
Mm.
I say certain people would say it's a job. I would say it's an art.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about your artistry. Tell me about what your favorite part of the job is.
Yeah, the favorite part of the job is getting to make drinks for cool people, and I don't just mean like they're celebrities or whatever else. It's just anybody that comes in my door, and everyone's got a story. Everyone has something that makes them unique, and it's getting to make a drink for them, talking to them, finding out what that thing is, and then making those connections. That's my favorite part of bartending, is getting to talk to my guests. As far as the job itself, it is a job. It's you're here to make money. Obviously, everybody has to work to make money, to pay bills, etc. But it's more than just a job in my mind, and in a lot of bartenders, it's a trade. It's something you pick up. It's something you are passionate about. It's something that's going to define you and your life. Just as in the days of old where we had people, with the name Miller or whatever else, that was what they did. They were a Miller, they were a beer brewer, they were the town drunk, and we have names that reflect that in our, Smith. And we've got, you were the local Smith, and that's just what they called you, was Smithy, or Smith. And so we don't maybe have the same names for bartenders. It's not like, booze slinger is not like a last name that you hear very often, if ever. If there is a booze slinger out there, I want to meet you. That'd be a really cool story. But it is a trade, and it's something that takes time to perfect and takes time to work on. And it's not just, it's mixing stuff into glasses, yeah, but there's a certain art to it, and there's a certain, definition of touch that you need to have to really make a well-balanced, cocktail and serve a good drink and have that conversation.
Yeah, do you have a favorite cocktail that you enjoy to make?
I get that question a lot. I'd say my favorite drink is the one that you are going to enjoy most. That's my favorite drink to make. But if I had to choose one for myself that I really like to make and like to drink, it would be something like a Manhattan or a whiskey sour. I love whiskey sours because I use them with egg white, the traditional way with egg white, and then you get to kind of paint on top and do some artistry on there. And it always gets an ooh and an ah and makes you feel kind of all warm and fuzzy inside. So that's a fun drink to make for sure.
I was just talking to someone about egg whites and drinks the other day, and they're like, it shouldn't make sense. It shouldn't work. We're taught as young children growing up, don't eat raw egg. Mm-hmm. And now we are here full circle putting it into our drink and drink it without cooking it. But the alcohol, of course, dilutes the raw egg, would you say?
Yeah, so the alcohol and the acid. So most sours where you're putting egg whites into a drink, you're adding an acid form, so like lemon juice or lime juice, and alcohol. Those two things combined, when whipped together, actually sterilize and neutralize the egg and cook it, essentially. So when you shake a whiskey sour really, really hard and you get that really nice foam on there, what you're basically doing is creating a meringue. And it's the same way that when you cook meringue, you're using an acid to kind of create those stiff peaks. You're doing the same thing with alcohol and with your acid base, so like your lemon juice. And it's creating a texture then, and it's cooking the egg at the same time. So it is completely harmless by the end of it.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think it's science, right? It's magic.
Bartending is a lot of science, and we like to play it off like it's more magical than it is, but that's the fun part.
Well, it's easy to stand behind the bar and flip some bottles in the air. Mm-hmm. It's another thing people don't know about you is you spend a lot of time studying recipes, and a lot of you probably don't understand. Toby can mix drinks in his head and taste them without tasting them, and they can make sense for some odd reason. It doesn't make sense to me, but it's an art for you for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all about knowing your flavors, knowing how things blend together, and of course, spending a lot of time with the classics. Like every great master, artist, you have to spend time knowing what came before you. And so I have a number of books down here that are all about the history of cocktails and where they started and the original recipes. And then what worked, what didn't work, why did we get to where we're at now, and how did we get to these, drinks and these combinations. So knowing those really helps you to then build cocktails later on and build your own versions is once you know where you started, where the cocktail started.
Yeah, it's like a painting. That's how I think about it. Every time I order a drink when I come down here, it's like a blank canvas, and I can often come down and say, "Hey, Toby, can you make me this drink?" And I want it to be X, Y, and Z. And somehow he makes it, and it's a beautiful painting on canvas that I wish I could take home. But that's called drinking in public, and you can't do that.
Well, open container laws is a thing here, unfortunately.
That is true.
Yeah, well, that's the fun part is that you come down and you have a different experience each time, and you have a different drink each time, maybe, and you get to, find a drink that just fits your mood at that one moment. And then that might change. Maybe one day you're sad and you're like, I just need something, stronger and a little bit, warm. And other days you're super excited. You're like, I want a citrusy, yuzu gimlet, and I'm just gonna like really go off the rails kind of thing. And we're all mood drinkers. We all define our social habits around how we're feeling. And drinking with friends and drinking alone, there's all.
Don't drink alone.
No, don't drink alone. But sometimes that happens. Sometimes there's that time where you need a drink and you're just you're gonna sit there and. Maybe you're feeling sad, maybe you're feeling thoughtful, maybe you just need a few minutes to yourself, and a cocktail kind of helps get your brain working, and that's what you need. You just need that one drink and that one bartender to make it for you.
It's called counseling.
Yeah, it is. It's like free therapy.
I mean, not really free, right? Because
you still got to pay for the drink, but it's cheap therapy.
Tip your waitress, tip your bartender.
It's cheaper therapy, that's for sure.
Exactly. So what would you say is the most common drink, looking at the bar, what would you say is the most common drink that gets ordered down here?
Our best, and I'll say just by best selling because I can look at the numbers and verify it, is definitely espresso martinis. We do a lot of espresso martinis. People really like them. And we, make them the correct way with espresso and super simple ingredients, but make them taste, really good and really, frothy, like that really nice foam on top that everyone likes to see. Other than that, our house cocktail, we call it Dirty Knees, is our next best-selling cocktail for sure. And that's a little bit of cucumber and jalapeno muddled in with jasmine tea-infused honey syrup that we get, or that I make, but we get the honey from the honey man here in town. And then you pair that with butterfly pea flower infused gin and a little bit of lemon juice, and you've got a super bright, refreshing cocktail that kind of tastes like that garden flavor. A little heat, a little fresh cucumber, very, very, very refreshing. And those two cocktails pretty much carry the day almost every night for us. After that, whiskey, I'd say old fashions. Definitely a lot of old fashions, a lot of bourbon.
Smoked old fashions.
A lot of smoked old fashions, for sure. For sure. Once one goes out, everyone sees the smoke rise, and they're like, ooh, what's that? And you're like, smoked old fashioned. Like, oh, you can smoke them? And then it's, it's like that scene from Lord of the Rings. I didn't know they could do that. They come in pints? Like, oh my gosh. I want that. And then, of course, then their whole bar eventually orders it. And the place actually kind of smokes out. And it's almost like a little glimpse into the past of like when you could smoke indoors and you could see the cigarette haze lighting up the room and, like kind of fogging it up a little bit. And when we smoke a ton of these old fashions, the whole space kind of fills with a little bit of this like warm glow. And it's just like, oh, that's cool. That's really cool. I can see what this would have looked like even, 50 years ago, 70 years ago.
Yeah. Such an old trade. Takes you back to a simpler, white picket fence, blue collar era, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 kind of time. What a time to be alive. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a gem of a place.
Oh,
and
thanks.
It takes you back to, like I said, a simpler time. It blends in the history and the drinks into a form of art that I think is so dang neat. Personally, I will say the smoked old-fashioned is probably my all-time favorite, followed by, well, I'm going to out myself here, a sweet drink. What would you say is your favorite sweet drink to make?
Favorite sweet drink to make? Oh, that's a tough one. I don't like making sweet drinks. I mean, I will. I don't drink it myself.
There's
but
good
if I do,
people in the world, and then there's people like you.
Well, I like to make. I have a tiramisu cocktail that I've been making for a couple of guests, and they really like it. It's super sweet. It's super creamy, but it's been really well received a few times. I made it for some guests now, so I'd probably say that's my favorite to make because it's a little unique, and I blend together 4 or 5 different liqueurs to kind of get that, that tiramisu flavor and texture, and That's pretty good. I like
Yeah.
it.
So you have like dinner upstairs, and then you come down, you grab dessert in the form of a drink.
Liquid dessert. That's the goal, is get yourself, a pre-dinner drink, and then go upstairs, have a, great meal, and then come down and get dessert and drinks down here, because we have some small snacks, and we have our entire dessert menu down here, and we also have, plenty of drinks to pair with them, and even port and other, fortified wines and vermouths, and yeah, plenty, a little bit for everyone, a little bit of everything for everyone.
There you go. And, in the typical speakeasy, you wouldn't say where we're at. But of course, we live in 2026 now, and advertising and marketing is a thing.
Darn you, Google.
I know. So we are actually sitting right below Nona's Italian restaurant here on Main Street in Spearfish. But come give it a try. Come bug Toby. He'll love to show you what he can do. Flip a few glasses, make you a drink or two, maybe three.
Absolutely. Give you a shot of Fernet.
Don't order Fernet. Don't order Fernet. Okay, so for our listeners who are 21 out there, Fernet is, I'm not even going to swear on the podcast. It's an explicit term. It's a horrible drink. Don't do it. Don't let Toby talk you into it.
And for those listening on the podcast who are 21 who are, getting turned off of this, the Fernet is a wonderful Italian digestif. It's the bartender's handshake. It's our symbol of bartenders, and it's our bottle that we share bartender to bartender. And when we give it to a guest, it's our way of like saying, hey, this is our family bottle. Here's a shot. You're part of our family now. Welcome to the family. And then, of course, they spit it out and they make faces and they flip you off and they do all these other things. And you're like, I just gave you something very special to me. And then they start bad-mouthing it on podcasts, and I don't know what to do about that.
He's not outing me. That's not me. That's someone else that he's talking about. Yeah, I'm not sure what that's. It's a horrible drink. I love Toby. I love this bar. I love Nona's. But listen, Fernet is just, it's the devil's drink, all right?
Well, if you're listening and you want to come in and mention the podcast, I'll get you a shot. We'll share it. We'll talk about it. You can see what you think about it, and then see which side of the coin you fall on. If you're on team, Levi, if you're on team, Tobias, and then we'll see who's got better friends.
Now I feel bad. That's kind of, he just did a sign of peace right there. I guess that's a peace offering. So come on down. Enjoy a nice dinner at Nona's. What do you recommend for dinner? What's the favorite entree?
Personal favorite, penne alla vodka with sausage. That's what I eat. That or the scampi. I eat both of those more than anything else. And then I'm also very partial to our Caesar salad. We make the dressing in-house. It's the right level of fishy and lemony, and it's delicious.
Man, that sounds good. Now I'm getting hungry. You can't do that to me.
We can go upstairs.
Yeah, we could. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. Thank you for joining us and telling us a little bit of history and walking us through some drinking terminology. I love what you're doing down here, so thank you.
Thanks for having me, and yeah, look forward to seeing you get down here again sometime.
Hearing Tobias talk about the tucked away nature of his spot, it's impossible not to think about the men who paved the way. You see, the Black Hills were not just a haven for miners. They were a playground for the mob. While Al Capone was ruling Chicago, the hills served as a quiet vacation spot for the underworld. Take Moses Annenberg, a millionaire with deep ties to the Chicago outfit. In 1932, his car broke down near Spearfish. Legend says he loved the trout dinner at Sand Creek so much, he bought the whole ranch on the spot. That became Ranch A, a high-end retreat that rumors suggest hosted more than just business associates back in the day. Then there was Vern Miller, a former South Dakota sheriff turned freelancer for the mob. He was a torpedo, a professional hitman linked to the Kansas City massacre. Men like Miller knew these canyons better than anyone. They knew that the Black Hills were the right place. If you had the right connections, you could just disappear into the pines and no one would ever find you. And it's history like that, that we want to keep alive. There's a lot of it out here, and in future episodes, we will dig in a little bit more into the mobster history of the Black Hills. So don't worry, but this is where we are ending today's episode. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you to the Tucked Tie for having us. This was such a fun episode to record and get to hang out with our friend Toby and enjoy a nice beverage down below the streets of Spearfish. So, thank you everyone for being here. This has been another production of the History Below the Pines Storytellers podcast. And we will see you right back here next week for another great episode of the Storytellers Collection.